Gun control hinges on the idea that so-called gun violence is epidemic across America. 290 people are killed by FDA-approved prescription drugs. And that's the conservative number published by the Journal of the American Medical Association. The source of this information? JAMA, Volume 284, Number 4, July 26, 2000, authored by Dr. Barbara Starfield, MD, of the Johns Hopkins School of Hygiene and Public Health. Driven doctors are routinely bribed by the drug giant, who receive financial kickbacks to prescribe more Glaxo-pharmaceuticals to more patients. The company admitted to bribing doctors and paid a $3 billion settlement to the federal government in 2012. The medical establishment kills 783,936 people in the United States every year. This means that your risk of being killed by your doctor is 62 times higher than the risk of being killed by a homicidal shooter. Put another way, the total number of homicide shooting deaths in the United States each year is about 12,600. This is from Death's final data for 2007 National Vital Statistics Report at the Centers for Disease Control.
When Roy Davidson was only 31, his doctor told him he had the worst case of multiple bleeding ulcers he had ever seen. After a specialist examination, it was clear that surgery was not an option. The ulcers were so severe that removing them would cause extensive damage, and there would always be scar tissue, even if medicine could heal the ulcers.
I just worked with pain. I lived with pain. I slept with pain. I ate with pain. I partied with pain. I swam with pain. Wherever we went, I just had pain for all those years. It never went away.
Roy woke up hours later. The pain was gone.
And I noticed my stomach. It felt funny, but it didn't hurt. And I noticed that I wasn't having any bleeding that day. And I wasn't having any pain, really. It was kind of gone.
Roy's specialist took another look at his stomach. He confirmed that the multiple bleeding ulcers were gone.
I was quite surprised to find that there was nothing there. I mean, it basically looked normal. What I thought was strange, and still do, I really didn't even find some of the scar tissue which had previously been there.
Roy has lived ulcer-free and pain-free for the past 13 years, and he's quick to share his testimony of God's healing power.
God chose to reveal himself to me. I didn't even know what to look for. I wouldn't have known what to look for. You never know when he's going to move or when he's going to do something. So I couldn't talk enough or testify enough about God and what he does or what he can do. And my life has just been a joy ever since.
Roy woke up hours later. The pain was gone.
And I noticed my stomach. It felt funny, but it didn't hurt. And I noticed that I wasn't having any bleeding that day. And I wasn't having any pain, really. It was kind of gone.
Roy's specialist took another look at his stomach. He confirmed that the multiple bleeding ulcers were gone.
I was quite surprised to find that there was nothing there. I mean, it basically looked normal. What I thought was strange, and still do, I really didn't even find some of the scar tissue which had previously been there.
Doctor, you hit on the third leading cause of death in the United States, and I'm sure most of us could figure it's either heart-related or cancer or diabetes, things like that. Can you clue us into what that is and why?
Yeah, okay, and thank you for asking that, because this is the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room that nobody's talking about. The third leading cause of death, as published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, is MD-directed treatments. This means you go to a medical doctor, an MD, he gives you a treatment and you die from it. According to the United States Department of Health and Human Services, 15,000 Medicare patients a month are killed by MD.
And that is the July 26, 2000 study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, Dr. Barbara Starfield. Impeccable, mainstream credentials, let's call it, all the way up and down the line. Medical system in the United States kills 225,000 people per year, 106,000 as a result of FDA-approved pharmaceutical drugs. That means by the drugs alone, you're talking about the medical system killing more than 1 million people a decade. FDA-approved drugs, while the FDA goes after vitamins that kill nobody. And this is the kind of story, see, that you would, if you had any sense.
I was at my grandparents' house, and I was walking around just like any normal 6-year-old, and I was walking up the stairs, and I just suddenly collapsed out of nowhere, and nobody knew what was going on. We went to the doctors, and they did thorough tests and studies, and they did x-rays on my hip, and they told me I had Legg-Hesperthes and I would never be able to walk again.
I also lost a little bit of my vision. My vision was blurry. I lost control of my bladder for a couple days, and my reflexes were completely gone. The doctors were totally confused. They thought they'd find cancer in my brain and along my spine. They thought I had MS. There was a bunch of other things with big names that they thought I might have too. And ultimately, they told me that I might never be able to walk again.
My whole family really strongly believes in the power of prayer. They came from all over British Columbia and Alberta to pray for me in a room for 10 days for me to get better. And after one of the sessions, my mom came over to me weeping, and I reassured her that it was going to be okay because I had a strange confidence that God was going to heal. Stood up, and miraculously I could just walk just like any normal 6-year-old.
I have no restrictions whatsoever. They were wrong. I am walking.
Today I can run, I can jump, I can walk just like any normal kid my age. I'm an athlete. I play volleyball. I play on the best volleyball team in Ontario right now. So, you know what? That's so much
For
for
God
a kid
has not
that
given
was
me a
never supposed to-
spirit of fear
but of love and of power.
and of a sound mind.
2 Timothy 1 verse 7.
My God healed me.
About 10 years ago, I started getting sick. It began with digestion issues, pain, and just a lot of unpleasantness, and it became exhaustion, and no matter how much I slept, I was always tired, lightheadedness, I had a hard time concentrating, and I just started feeling unwell, and this got worse over the years into my early 20s. I pretty much lost my belief in the God of the Bible. I believe that there was some spiritual something out there, but I had a hard time reconciling what I come to believe with what I read in the pages of the scriptures. So I remember being on my couch one night just crying out to God, and so God just he healed me that night, and what's more, he really did a work in my heart.
I was given a death sentence, but God had other plans for my life, that I was going to be well. Hours later, the answer came, and I was completely healed. It was a miracle.
If I were to go down to, let's say, Mexico and buy some apples or broccoli or something, and they were just drenched in Roundup, drenched in glyphosate, cancer-causing glyphosate, and feed it to a bunch of rats over a long period of time, I could actually say, in the language of a study, due to the research, that the apples and the broccoli were causing cancer. They were giving the rats cancer. I mean, massive tumors. They were developing cancer cells at egregious rates, right? All because they were eating these apples. These apples are bad. They're bad. But is it really the apples? No, it's the Roundup. No wonder multivitamins are killing us, some of them. But the studies don't differentiate between that costs 2 cents to make in China, where they're scraping up vitamins off the ground and throwing them back on the conveyor belt with a bunch of bacteria on their hands, and somebody like a super high quality supplement manufacturer that takes organic based ingredients. The list really, really goes on. So the truth of the matter here is that many health studies are deceiving you.
Dr. Earl Bradley, a Delaware pediatrician, is accused of committing hundreds of sexual crimes against a total of more than 100 children. And prosecutors expect the number of charges to grow as investigators continue to urge victims and their families to step forward in a case that is riveting the state.
I am bound by certain rules that limit what I can say in the midst of an active investigation. I cannot say certain things that I am feeling, and I am feeling a great deal.
Bradley has been in jail since December when he was arrested on a smaller number of charges, including far fewer victims. His medical license has recently been revoked.
It makes you not want to trust the doctors that you're dealing with.
The indictment alleges Bradley assaulted many of his victims repeatedly and some on consecutive days. Bradley's attorney says a key issue in the case will deal with Bradley's mental state. He also wants the trial moved to a different part of the state.